All right, let's talk about a stock that suddenly popped up on the radar of some of the biggest players in the game. It's called BMR, and giant institutional investors are buying it up like there's no tomorrow. And yet, most of us have no idea why. So, in this breakdown, we're going to dig into what's behind this sudden buying frenzy and what it might mean. Let's get right to it.
For the longest time, BMNR has been one of those companies that just flies under the radar. It's not a flashy name you hear about on the news every night. For most investors, it probably wasn't even on their watch list. It was pretty much the definition of an overlooked stock. But then, just over the last few trading periods, something changed dramatically. BMNR started seeing this massive wave of institutional buying. We're talking about serious players, hedge funds, huge pension funds, private equity firms, all quietly but very aggressively building up their positions. And you just don't see that kind of coordinated movement by accident. Which, of course, leads us to the billion-dollar question. When the smart money starts moving like this, all at once, it usually means they see something that the rest of the market has completely missed. So what is it? What do they know that we don't? We're about to find out. To figure this out, we're going to have to play detective. We're going to follow the money trail and break down all the clues, piece by piece, to uncover the strategy behind this whole buying spree.
So the very first sign that something was up was the trading volume. It's often the first footprint that big investors leave behind. And in BMNR's case, it was a huge one. And just look at the scale of this. BMNR's trading activity didn't just tick up a little bit. It absolutely exploded, jumping way, way above its 30-day average. Now, this isn't a bunch of small investors getting excited. This is the kind of volume that screams large players are taking their positions, and they're trying to do it early. And this really gets to a key idea you have to understand. Institutions don't just wait around for a stock to get popular and then hop on. They have enough capital to create the volume themselves, basically signaling to the market that a new trend is starting. The point is, this spike isn't random. It is a deliberate action. Okay, so big volume is one thing, but it's not the whole story, right? Big funds don't just throw billions of dollars around unless the underlying business is actually sound. So the next obvious question is, does BMNR's fundamentals even justify this kind of attention? And when you actually look under the hood, it all starts to make a lot more sense. This is our second clue. BMRR has solid revenue growth, its profit margins are improving, which is great to see, it's got a strong balance sheet, and, super important, very low debt. This combination is basically the holy grail for what big funds look for, stability with a clear path for growth. But just being a stable company isn't quite enough. Let's get to our next clue, because this is where it gets really interesting. Institutions don't just buy stable companies. They buy stable companies that they believe are about to have some kind of major positive event. And for BMNR, it looks like there are a few potential catalysts on the horizon that these funds might be front-running. It could be anything from a major partnership announcement, maybe an expansion into a new profitable market, some favorable new regulations, or maybe an earnings forecast that's about to blow past all expectations. Funds love to buy before the good news is public because that's where the real upside is. This brings us right to clue number 4, the price tag. Several analysts are starting to argue that, based on its cash flow and how it stacks up against its competitors, BMNR is trading way below what it's actually worth. We're talking potentially 20 to 40%. Now, for an institutional investor, that is a massive green light. If you've got a solid company with a catalyst coming and it's also on sale, they see that as free upside. It means the potential gain feels really high, while the risk seems lower because the stock's already cheap. This is often the exact moment a stock finds its bottom, right before a major rally. And that leads us to our fifth and final clue, which kind of puts this whole thing into a bigger context. This move into BMNR isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of a much larger market trend. It's something called a sector rotation. Essentially, as the high-flying tech stocks get a little too volatile or expensive, the smart money starts to shift their cash into companies with stronger fundamentals and more predictable profits. And BMNR fits that profile perfectly. It's stable, but it's still positioned for growth. That makes it a prime target for all this rotating capital. So let's connect all these dots and really look at the big picture here. Why BMR and why right now? It all boils down to a pretty clear and powerful strategy from these institutions.
BNR basically checks every single box for a smart money investment. You've got strong, stable fundamentals that give it a solid floor. You've got clear growth potential and the fact that it's potentially undervalued, which offers a nice margin of safety. And then, the cherry on top, you've got these upcoming catalysts that could just propel the stock way higher.
So now for the big question. What does all this mean for you, for the individual investor? I mean, following the big funds can be a really powerful strategy, but it's absolutely crucial to weigh the evidence for yourself. Because, let's be real, no investment is ever a sure thing. And here's the dilemma with BMNR. The bull case is pretty clear. All this institutional buying could create some serious price momentum, which then leads to analyst upgrades, and then brings in even more investors. But the bear case is just as real. The broader market could hit a rough patch and drag everything down. Growth could be slower than everyone thinks. Or those big catalysts we talked about, they could get delayed or fizzle out. You always have to balance the potential rewards with the risks.
Okay, so let's bring this all home and get to the final verdict. When we boil it all down, the thesis, the big idea behind why smart money is moving into BMNR is actually surprisingly simple and elegant.
What we're watching here is a classic smart money playbook in action. Step 1, find a solid, under-the-radar company with fantastic fundamentals. Step 2, verify that it's trading for less than it's probably worth. Step 3, anticipate a specific upcoming catalyst that's going to unlock all that hidden value. And of course, step 4, position yourself before the rest of the crowd even knows what's happening. Which leaves us with one final provocative thought. The big funds are making a very calculated bet here. They believe BMNR is an underpriced asset with huge future potential. So, if the company actually delivers on those expectations, the real question is, could this institutional buying frenzy be just the beginning of a much bigger move?